It's 1:30 and it's right here at Business Incorporated on Channels Television. Good afternoon, I'm Ini John Mekwa. And like I promised in the morning, there's been some updates on business, and so we'll bring it right here on Business Incorporated. So let's start off with the program. What do we have for you today? We can tell you there's been an increase in Africa's cyber attacks, especially in South Africa and in Kenya. And in Cameroun, there's the threat or the proposal of a 20% hike in gas, in the price of gas. And of course, there are positions against that. Uganda and South Sudan have signed a pact to increase e-commerce between both countries. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program once again. Let's head to the market where we normally start from the NGX. Looking at those numbers there, we see that it's green, sustaining the sentiment from Tuesday before the holidays. Looking good there at sustaining that 60,000 there at 0.07%. South Africa is looking even much better, more than 1%, 1.11%. And then in Egypt, they're closed unchanged, and Kenya also for Thursday, and not one of those countries that went on the holiday. We see there 107.17, 0.02% in the red. Now let's look closer to the Nigerian market and see what's going on there. Joining us for that will be Abdulrasheed Momo. I was so excited about that 60,000 level and hope that we will hold it, even though, this is a marginal gain at intraday 0.07%. But let's have Abdulrasheed Momo telling us more on that. Mr. Momo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope you enjoyed your holiday.
Yeah. I didn't go anywhere.
At least you rested. That's a good one. So, So, Ms. Momo, we had this on Tuesday, and we see, well, this is the first trading day since that, and we have this marginal gain. Do you see us hitting 61 by close of trade, or at least just sustaining the 60,000 index point?
Okay, as we speak now, the market has gained another 812 points. That's 1.35%. So as we speak, the market is trading at 60,921 now as we speak. So if we're looking at our charts or figures, this is actually the highest so far, because the last 52 weeks high was 60,442.12. So as we speak now, the market has made a new high. So today's trading, as of now, is the highest so far, 52 weeks high, as we speak. And most of the indexes actually in green, except NGX growth and NGX industry. Every other index is in green.
Yeah. So.
And everything seems to be fine with all cylinders. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Momo.
Okay. Yeah. So everything is up now, and in this kind of era which we are, it's always difficult for when clients actually tell you, what am I going to buy, what am I going to sell to buy. The only advice is you just have to hold on to what you have, because everything seems to be moving up at the same time, at the same period. So if you sell a stock, there's possibility of you can't get into any other stock at a lower price. They're all moving at the same pace.
So are you saying that would deter investors from profit taking?
Yeah, it's the one thing about, if you look at, how will I explain to you, like in technical analysis, there's what they call Elliott wave 3. Wave 3 is always the longest wave in the market. So the way the market is now, the market is a very long bull wave. Even if we see any correction now, happen now, there's possibility that the market is still going to beat the current level of 60,900 that we're seeing. Even if we see a correction now, people that are actually not, the people that are not in the market the market will still beat what we are seeing now. So it's a long-term wave, and all we just have to do is You just have to hold on, because anybody selling now, if you sell now, you take profit, you might be shocked that you might be shocked that there are still people still buying into those stocks. Let me break it down. You know, all this while, a lot of us have been in the market, right? And we've been doing in and out. So what's happening that we are beginning to see new money entering the market. I mean, look at stocks like, I think, Access Bank. They traded about 3 billion so far, GT, especially the banking sector. So you might think you are actually taking profit, and you might just see some new players actually entering the market, and they don't mind buying these stocks at these current prices. So as it is now, I would advise people to actually hold for the long term.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Mr. Broshit Momo. But the market will always correct itself, even as you always tell us on this program.
It will. Sorry, what I'm saying is that if you compare this current index and the prices at which they were in 2007, 2008, they are not still near. Like the banks then, like Zenith was going for about 15 naira then, UBA was going for the same range, Access was going for about 25 naira. So the prices are still not even within the 2007, 2008 range. You know, so that is what I'm saying. Because now, because what I'm saying, people are taking profit and they are coming back to buy the same stock that they sold. You know, so volume is still present. So we need to be cautious. But this is the time when either you want to be greedy, is either greed or fear. So you determine if you know your BP or your heart can take this current rally, then you hold on to the market. But if you still want to play the market, if you take profit now, I don't think there's any last stock you're going to go into, and you know about the higher price. So that's what I'm saying.
All right, Mr. Momo, thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
Of course, investors at liberty to make their decisions what seems right for them. Now let's move over to the Middle East market. We see a lot of negative sentiment. Remember, this market has always been on break for that holiday, the Muslim holiday, which we just came out of. Abu Dhabi at intraday is in the red, 0.07% at 9,550.40. Dubai also down marginally, 0.01% at 3,791.99. These are the two markets, the UAE, that trade on Fridays. The other markets do not trade. They're closed. Saudi Arabia closed 0.06 in the red. Qatar closed 2.35 in the red. Let's go to Europe now, where inflation in the Eurozone is down from peak levels last October, but it remains above the European Central Bank's target, and inflation trends are diverging in some countries in that zone. But we have Chip Onda now joining us to give us the details. Chip, good to have you. Good afternoon. So what's the latest in the issue of inflation in the Eurozone?
Well, one of the biggest surprises this week has been Spain's inflation rate. It dropped to a two-year low this month to 1.6% from 3.2% in May. Spain's inflation rate is now below the European Central Bank's target inflation of 2%. Now, that's the rate the ECB wants to maintain inflation for price stability. But things look very different in other parts of the Eurozone. Like here in Germany. German consumer prices rose faster in June than they did last month. Inflation rose to 6.8% this month from 6.3% in May. So June inflation bucked the downward trend that we have seen since the start of the year.
So if Spain is doing so well, what's going on with Germany? This is high.
It is worth looking at how the German government was trying to soften the blow last year. In June, the blow of inflation, that is, in June 2022, the government cut taxes on fuel and introduced a ticket that allowed people to travel across Germany for €9 on public transportation and regional trains. Now, that caused German inflation to fall in June 2022. And fast forward 12 months, those measures are gone, and consumer prices are rising without government intervention. Now, analysts are saying that what we have seen this month is a blip. They do expect the downward trend we have been seeing in Germany's inflation rate to continue in the coming months. And of course, that is something that everyone will be keeping a close eye on, because high inflation in Europe's biggest economy pulls up the Eurozone inflation rate and has a major influence on ECB policy.
Of course, obviously. And how are the markets reacting to these?
Well, Germany's high inflation rates aren't hurting the DAX, the country's blue chip index, and some gains are expected today. And when it comes to news events, markets will be looking to Brussels. EU leaders will end a two-day summit that they began on Thursday later today. They have been discussing the bloc's security, economy, and foreign relations, among other topics. Also, developments on the EU's trade deal with Australia may be in the news. The deal has been discussed for the last 5 years, but there's still a lack of clarity on whether an agreement will be reached by mid-July, when Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will be in Europe. Agriculture is one of the areas that there's been some disagreement on. Some of that includes the labeling of geographic products like cheese and wine. So some are saying it will be touch and go for the deal, which has been 5 years in the making.
All right, thank you so much, Chiponda, for that details, and do have a great weekend. Well, I'll move to other markets. Now in Asia, all across Asia, index is closed mixed after the U.S. banks jumped on stress test results. The Nikkei 225 was in the red, 0.14%, 33,189.04. The Kospi, on the flip side, more than 0.5% in the green, 2,564.28. Shanghai Composite looking good, 1.31% at 3,202.04. And in Australia, AX 200 is in the green, 0.12% at the close of trade. Move to the United States now. Equity futures rose on Friday as Wall Street looked to cap off a banner start to 2023 and the best first half for the Nasdaq Composite since 1983. Look at the numbers there now. The Dow Jones is in the green, almost 1%, really high at 34,442.42. S&P 500, almost 0.5% in the green, 4,496.44. And the Nasdaq, the tech guys, at 0.60%, 15,000. This recovered from yesterday. Yesterday, it was actually in the red, 15,168.50. In the oil space, prices rose on Friday, but were on course for a fourth consecutive quarter of losses amid concerns over sluggish global economic activity and fuel demand. Benchmark Brent crude futures for September delivery rose 30 cents to stand at $74.81. The less traded front month contract, which expires today, was up 41 cents at $74.75 a barrel. The contract was on track for a 6% decline in the 3 months to the end of June, marking a fourth straight quarterly decline. Prices are their lowest in 2 years. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 37 cents, that's about 0.5%, to $70.24 a barrel. The contract is down 7% on a quarterly basis, its second consecutive quarterly drop. Inflationary pressure and rising interest rates in key economies and a slower than expected recovery in Chinese manufacturing and consumption have weighed on markets in recent months. In the metals market, gold prices are set for their first quarterly decline in 3 months on Friday as expectations of more interest rate hikes by the United States Federal Reserve and its global peers dimmed the outlook for bullion. Gold was down 0.2% to $1,904.67 per ounce, and that's down 3.3% for the quarter ending June 30th. U.S. gold futures shed 0.2% to $1,913.10. Gold briefly dropped below the key $1,900 level on Thursday for the first time since mid-March, as the slew data through the week painted a picture of a resilient U.S. economy and cemented bets for more policy tightening. And one of those stories we told you at the beginning is that the number of cyber attacks on businesses in Kenya, South Africa, and Zambia increased by 76%. This is according to the latest cybersecurity report by Pan-African technology group Liquid Intelligent Technologies. The report, tagged The Evolving Cybersecurity Landscape in Africa 2022, reveals that cyber attacks against all large enterprises ramped up dramatically as Kenya businesses reported an 82% increase in such attacks, while South Africa and Zambia businesses both saw a 62% increase in such attacks. A top among common method of attack used by cyber criminals targeting companies was through email, using phishing or spam attacks. About 61% of those compromised passwords, data breaches, and attacks. The report underlines the increasing need for companies to invest in cybersecurity measures to avoid reputational damage, financial losses, potential business interruptions. In Cameroon, the country's Industrial Gas Users Association has opposed a decision by the energy company Gas DU Cameroon to raise the price of industrial gas by 20%, despite the government's order to postpone it till price approval requirements are met. The association made this known in a letter signed by the executive of 7 industrial companies and sent to the local subsidiary of a British oil and gas firm on June the 26, 2023. Gas DU Cameroon's proposal to raise the price of gas it supplies to its industrial clients comes after the special tax on petroleum products was extended to natural gas. The extension provided by Cameroon's 2023 finance law requires companies using industrial gas to pay 70 cefis tax for each cubic meter of gas consumed since January this year. In Uganda now, a power sales agreement between Uganda and South Sudan was signed to increase electrical commerce between the two neighbors and socio-economic development in the border towns of Oraba, Elegu, Kaya, and Nimule. Following a December 2015 memorandum of understanding to develop transmission and distribution infrastructure to connect the two countries through the Nile Equatorial Lakes Subsidiary Action Plan. A joint technical committee has been established to plan and coordinate the project's development. According to the agreement, construction of the 308-kilometer, 400 kV Juba power transmission line would be given priority. African Development Bank, that's the AFDB, has agreed to provide funding for the feasibility studies for Uganda and South Sudan. AFDB will also provide project funding. Welcome back to watching Business Incorporated here on Channels Television, talking about Zimbabwe economic sanction and the impact. Botswana's Minister of Foreign Affairs has expressed concerns over the ongoing sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe, highlighting the detrimental impact on the entire SADC region. Mr. Kwakpe emphasized that these sanctions are causing significant challenges that demand attention. Zimbabwe is gearing up for its upcoming elections scheduled to take place in August.
There is certainty and guarantee that elections will be held every 5 years. In fact, I'm confident to announce that there will be elections in this country come next year, October. And that is a fact. So yes, for Zimbabwe, we wish the same. And as we've always said, everywhere we go, led by the president, that the sanctions against Zimbabwe should be lifted, because the sanctions on Zimbabwe are by extension sanctions on us, because the Zimbabwean people move to Botswana and we have to carry the burden of their sustenance in all respects of sustenance.
Yeah, so it's a regional problem now, thinking that one country is being sanctioned and the impact it's having on the region, that's a certain Africa there. But we have Innocent Musa, who's been in Botswana all week now, sensing that interview we just saw and telling us there's overspreading impact of this. Hi, Innocent, good to speak with you. Good afternoon. I cannot hear you, Innocent. Can you hear me? Could you unmute, Innocent? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right, awesome. So give us a little bit of background to this sanction. What is the offense of Zimbabwe? What are the sanctions?
Indeed, Ene, we are coming to you live from Botswana, and been invited here by the government of Botswana to essentially talk to us about some of their success stories and the challenges ahead. We, of course, posed this question, to put it to them, given the fact that Zimbabwe is going to the elections this August, as you rightly alluded earlier. So we put it to them because the sanctions in Zimbabwe, in many respects, they put the whole SADC in a very precarious position, for a want of a better term, because you would see a lot of, the economic implications is that you would see many of them moving to different parts of the region, and as they do that, some of them come without papers, and it becomes a burden to the fiscus of that particular country. So, in other words, they have been saying that these sanctions needs to be lifted in order to, build a better SADC region. But you would know, Ine, that these sanctions in Zimbabwe, they've been there for quite some time now. They've been there for quite some time. Even their currency is not really doing well at this point in time. I don't even know if whether or not we should call it the currency, because sometimes it changes. Sometimes they use the dollar. Sometimes they use the Zim dollar. It's quite confusing. But I guess it's quite encouraging, Ini, when you hear fellow SADC countries coming out to really speak for Zimbabwe and say, these sanctions, they really need to stop in order to get a better economy in the Southern Africa region.
Yeah, but it seems like a very long way ahead, because Zimbabwe does have a whole lot of issues. You just talked about their currency. I mean, I think there's a time that they started using the US dollar instead of their currency. So talk about devaluing and all of that. It's a whole lot of things. But I guess, why is Botswana so worried about this, especially in the face of the upcoming election in August?
I guess they say that they advocate for a peaceful, election, as they will be also having their election in October next year. In fact, South Africa is also going to the elections next year. So the whole of the SADC region really, we're gearing up for elections back to back. So Botswana is interested because there are a lot of Zimbabweans who are living in Botswana. So therefore, they feel that it's important for them to address some of the issues, because they feel that some of them really do not have papers. Some, of course, there are issues around, the permits. In South Africa, you'd know the issue around the exemption permits. So I guess as a fellow Southern Africa, country, I guess they saw it fitting to actually address this issue. But it would seem like they really care about, the issue around, the issue around what is happening in Zimbabwe.
So, Innocent, just before I let you go, I mean, I know you're a South African, I'm a Nigerian. Have you met the Nigerian community in Botswana? Because I know Nigerians are everywhere.
Yes, we did actually, we did. But she refused to come on camera. We wanted to talk to her about her business. In fact, later today we'll be meeting the High Commissioner of Nigeria in Botswana. So quite excited. We'll be having a conversation with her about a number of issues, around the passports issue and the ease of doing business in Botswana. yeah, I'm looking forward for that particular conversation.
I'm looking forward to it because I know Nigerians, we are everywhere. Thank you so much, Innocent Semosa. And we wish you safe travels back to Johannesburg, which is your base.
Thank you so much, colleague. Thank you so much.
All right, that's a pleasant way to end the program and dive into the weekend, and hopefully I can get some rest, and so can you also. But do remember that Laddie Williams will be here 7 p.m. tomorrow with Capital Markets. It's been a pleasure, presenting this program today. Let's meet again next week. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Enjoy.